Welcome back to your live continuing BeTerrific coverage of the 2015 New York International Auto Show here at the Jacob K. Javits Center in New York City. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. You make BeTerrific special. I've got Jason here from Alfa Romeo. You know, Alfa's been around for a long time. Such a rich legacy and history, such a rich racing history.
Yeah, you're correct, Michael. Like, our history dates back almost 105 years, and again, with that, an extensive amount of racing history. You know, some big names in racing history that have drawn lineage from Alfa Romeo, such as Enzo Ferrari, for example. So again, you know, it really is a brand that has developed itself all about performance and style. The brand itself was born in Milan, Italy. And again, that's the fashion capital of the world. So along with a lot of the products comes that whole idea of seductive style. And again, new for this year in 2015, we've got the 4C Spider from Alfa Romeo, as well as the 4C Coupe that we previously revealed. And again, it really draws from that lineage. And again, from a brand standpoint, it delivers on 3 points, which is technology, performance, and style.
I like what I see from Alfa today. Let's talk a little bit about the history and then get back into today.
Sure.
So first of all, I think the story is so interesting that really Enzo goes out on his own after being part of Alfa, races Ferraris, builds Ferraris, creates a great brand, and then you're both back together under the Fiat brand, the Fiat Chrysler group, and I think that that's really an interesting story and amazing. Two fierce competitors and racers and race teams. The Alfa that you have here that's a race car, I shot at Lime Rock a couple years ago, and it's just so gorgeous. It still races today. Can you talk about that car that dates back to really the origins of Alfa?
Yeah, you know, again, at the show here today, as we've been going through the auto show circuit, we've been bringing a few different vehicles out. In Detroit, we had the 159 Alfetta, which is a legendary race car that really, for its time, 1951, if you think about it, it was open cockpit, surrounded by fuel, drive shaft down the middle, 190 miles an hour, this vehicle, inline 8 with dual superchargers.
Wow.
Like, again, talk about technology for the time. Again, Alfa Romeo, a lot of focus on lightweightness in the vehicles as well. So again, from a dynamic standpoint for driving and overall delivering on times in racing, that played a big factor.
Can you imagine racing this thing? I mean, the guy who was racing it the day I shot it at Lime Rock has the leather the goggles, the leather cap. It looks like he looked like he was as old as the car. It looks like it's impossible to drive. And all I can think about is, how would you stop it? How do you corner with this thing?
Well, and again, you know, if you go back in time and you look at some of those races, it really was a lot of credit to the drivers, because they had a lot of skills, you know, similar to today, but from a technology standpoint, it was leading edge technology for the time.
Right.
And when you look at today and where everything's evolved to, you know, a lot of the learnings that were done back then evolved into where we're at today.
All right, so we go forward to today. You guys have been making cars forever. The history with the United States is that you import cars, you don't import cars, you import cars, you don't import cars. Every few years it changes, but now you guys are here officially to stay.
Yep.
I remember in 1991, a friend of mine's mother, when I was growing up, bought the 164. It was avant-garde. It was totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely interesting, and it was different, and it was a little bit peculiar. It was a cool car.
Yeah.
And now you guys have continued to do the most amazing things with technology, with speed, with performance. I was looking at the car before. It looks like the well is completely carbon fiber. Is that true?
Yeah, it actually is. So just to kind of take a step back here a little bit. So last May, we had an Investors Day meeting that kind of relaunched the commitment to Alfa Romeo, in particular to North America, and bringing it back. And since then, you know, we've been on a full-on mission to, you know, develop our dealer network and get the infrastructure in place to deliver these great vehicles. So the vehicle that we first brought into market was the 4C, and then shortly thereafter the 4C Spider, which is the open-top version that'll be in market later this summer. But again, when you look at the technology that goes into this vehicle and you peel it back, so to speak, and look at the underpinnings, it is made of a carbon fiber monocoque chassis. So it's 236 pounds, the chassis. It's got an aluminum subframe. It's got a 1750 turbo direct injected 4-cylinder engine, putting out 237 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque.
Well, and it's very light. Let's just stop for a second and realize that that weight on a chassis is very, very minimal.
You're absolutely right, and really to finish my point there, you're bang on, because again, there's two different ways to deliver performance, and the technologies that have been implemented with this car, with the lightweight technology embedded in it, has delivered a 0 to 60 time in 4.1 seconds, which again, is tremendous in any realm of performance.
So what are we talking about, like, as far as the wheels and tires and brake setup and suspension in the car?
Okay, so the car comes base with 17 in the front, 18-inch in the back. Most of the vehicles we're seeing in the marketplace right now, consumers are moving to the 18, 19-inch options on it. Brembo brakes are in the car as well. So again, you got to be able to stop and turn in hairpin turns, because it is really, this vehicle does tremendous on a track environment. And so that's the setup with the wheels. From an interior standpoint, the backs of the seats are all carbon fiber as well, so it's lightweight. Again, comes with a combination of leather microfiber racing materials as well as leather seats in it as well. So,
what's the curb weight on the vehicle?
Curb weight of the vehicle is 2465.
2465. That is so light.
And the actual Spider version, because of the rigidity and the technology, it adds 22 pounds for the open air. 22 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So from a performance standpoint, it truly delivers, and in an estimated 4.1 seconds.
It's a mid-engine car.
Mid-engine setup. So the weight distribution's pretty equal on it as well.
That's amazing. And are you talking about a manual transmission or an automatic transmission, or they're both?
It's both, actually. So it's an Alpha. It's a twin clutch, so it can be driven in an automatic mode, but also in manual mode. Everything's handled through paddle shifters.
No real manual with a real clutch.
No,
pedal
everything's through paddle shifters.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
Very
again,
nice. Lightning fast.
Lightning fast. The shifts are in 130 milliseconds. So when you got your hands at 9 and 3 on a track,
that's 130 milliseconds is. So 300 milliseconds is about 4 frames of video.
Mm-hmm.
So 130 milliseconds is like, I don't know, 2 frames of video maybe, and there are 30 frames or 24 frames depending on what you're shooting of video in a second.
Yeah,
that's really, that's lightning quick.
And again, that's part and parcel for delivering those impressive 0 to 60 times of 4.1 seconds. And again,
it used to be like a guy like you or a guy like the car could have 4.1, but we'd probably have like a 5.3 or 5.4 because of our shifting ability wasn't what a professional race car driver would shift. But because of the paddle technology, you have the double clutch and the 133 milliseconds to shift, you and I can drive just as fast as a race car driver.
Yeah, definitely the technology helps from that overall performance, and it's been pretty impressive, because as you've seen some of the coverage of the vehicles, that 0 to 60 time has been established by many of the mainstream third-party people that are in the marketplace that test vehicles. So again, it goes to show your point that when the technology is lined up right and the configuration of the car is set up right, you can definitely deliver on that type of performance.
I like this car a lot. It's beautiful. I think the styling is really gorgeous. I also think it seems reasonable from what I know of the price point. What is the price point?
So it's just under $54,000 a starting point. But again, you talk about the lines of the car, and really, again, when we talk about technology, the exterior of the car is actually composite. It's sheet molded compound, and again, it's lighter weight material, but it also allows for that great seductive style you see in the lines of the car.
When you think about it, for the price of the car, you're getting race car performance, exotic car performance, and you're getting nowhere near that in price. You're getting the performance you would spend $100,000+ for in a $50,000 to $60,000 package.
Yeah, and again, as we bring the vehicle to market, part of it is we're reintroducing the brand to the marketplace. Sure. And again, this vehicle truly exudes what the Alfa Romeo brand is about, and that really comes back to the whole idea of technology, performance, and style. Technology in the sense of the materials that are used, the engineering behind it, from a performance standpoint, all that coupled together, the use of lightweight materials and that drive the performance that we're talking about with 0 to 60 times. And then finally, that seductive style. You know, again, it's an Italian vehicle. The brand was born in Milan, Italy. And again, we wanted to make sure that from a styling standpoint, it stood out.
What is the top end?
From a speed standpoint, so tops out at 160 miles per hour.
Is that electronically limited, or is that actually the top end?
I can say that's what we've said publicly at 160.
Okay, and then are you guys, tell me about some of the features and options you guys offer.
Yeah, so again, from a standpoint of the setup of the car, I think, you know, the track package, there's a lot of carbon fiber accenting available with the vehicle. And originally when the vehicle came out, it was the launch edition models that are out in the marketplace right now. And really that vehicle, it had 18, 19-inch wheels front and back, you know, dark rims, from an interior standpoint, a lot of carbon fiber accenting as well. So really gave it a good, rich racing dynamic. And, you know, a lot of it inspired, carbon fiber, you know, inspired from Formula One racing. So
sure.
Again, really gives you that great feel. You know, one unique thing about the vehicle as well that I share with people like yourself is, you know, from a driving dynamic standpoint, it really is unique because the driving setup on it is a manual steering, so you really get the road feel on it.
I like that a lot.
So again, you know, for those who are real true driving enthusiasts,
yeah,
you know, they really like to have the feel of the road, and this car truly delivers.
You lose that a lot of times these days because you get power steering in there. Sure, it makes it easier to park. I mean, I had a NSX that had no power steering, and they've done this with some cars where they have a manual steering. They'll put in a park assist, but like you'd be like this to park. Yeah. But other than that, it was awesome. And so, I really like manual steering. I think that's a great feature. What about some of the safety features you guys have implemented in the car too? Yeah,
so again, you know, it does have obviously a lot of the standard safety features such as airbag. You know, there's rear backup sensors available for the vehicle as well. So all of the safety requirements are coupled into this. And so again, from a performance standpoint, you know, really the vehicle has done a nice job delivering on what it was designed to do.
What's the warranty like on the car?
So 4-year, 50,000 mile
Excellent.
warranty. Yep. So again, it's competitive with the premium competitors in the marketplace.
I really like what you guys are doing with the car. I'm excited about it. I think it's a lot of fun. How did you get into Alfa? Have you and the car business in general? Have you always been a car guy? Did you grow up saying like I want to be in the car business?
It's a funny story because I think, you know, you kind of get, this sounds like a funny analogy, but you kind of get fuel running through your veins at a young age. I actually started in a car wash when I was 13 years of age. And that's where I kind of got my first exposure to vehicles.
What was your favorite car that you washed?
You know what? It was very interesting because there was a number of them. And, you know, back then there were some unique Porsches that came out,
sure.
like the 928, for example, you know, real round back end.
Absolutely.
Very different.
That's a risky business car.
It is. We had a guy that would bring one of those through and, you know, really like that. You know, but at the same time, you know, we did some hand washing as well, and we had a few old Ferraris that would come in for hand washing as well. Now, mind you, I was the young guy and I wasn't allowed to touch any of those.
But you got to see them.
But at least you could see them up close.
Yeah.
So, you know, that type of excitement was you know, it kind of fueled you. And then, you know, as you get up in age, you start choosing your paths for career, and mine happened to go through the auto industry. And
it's so funny because, like, I love cars. I love cars, and I don't know how I didn't get into the auto industry. I mean, I am in some way because I always have covered the auto shows, and I'm a broadcaster and all that, and I love cars, and we do car stuff and car shows and talk cars and all that, but I'm not, like I was thinking, if there was any other career path I would have had other than this, and I love what I do, it would definitely be the auto industry, yet it never crossed my mind. I never once said, I'm going to go sell cars, I'm going to help make cars, I'm going to work for, you know, Fiat or Alfa or Porsche or Ferrari or Mercedes or any of these brands. It never even dawned on me.
Yeah, you know, again, I think, you know, as you move along in your careers, like you kind of come across things. And for me, I grew up in an automotive town.
Sure.
And
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Windsor, Ontario.
Okay.
So just across from Detroit, the Motor City.
Yep.
And so, you know, obviously great influence with the auto industry there. And so, ultimately I ended up in the assembly plants, working on the line and working my way through the system. And, again, learned a lot from it.
That's a great story. You worked on the assembly plants and worked your way all the way up through the system?
Yeah, so again, I've been with the company for quite a few years, and again, seen it from very different perspectives, and spent a lot of time working with our dealer networks in the field, and
it helps, right, when you learn from different avenues. So you started working with the assembly stuff, and you can talk about the different things that the assembly guys go through, and the different things that the managers at the assembly plants have to deal with, and the different supply issues, and and then you start working with the dealers, and now you know what the dealers go through. I mean, it really helps when you actually are really well rounded.
Well, I think definitely it's an asset, because you get a broader appreciation of all the variables that are in play when you're making decisions, or again, it just it helps you be more well-rounded.
Where do you live now?
I actually live in Canada still.
Where?
Just outside Windsor, Ontario.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't let somebody from Canada be on and not talk hockey. I'm a hockey guy.
I got it.
So who's your team?
Okay.
It'd probably be the Leafs, right?
Well, you know what? I'm actually growing up across
Detroit?
from the Motor City, Detroit fan.
Wow.
Yeah, and as I moved across the country, I took some grief from it, but at the same time, I do have a soft spot out there for the Maple Leafs and Canadians, and I do cheer for them. But I think the other piece of it too is, if you're talking Canadian hockey, World Juniors is where it's at as well.
Yes,
and,
absolutely. And there's Windsor is
every
big
year.
for this.
Yeah, so every year during the Boxing Week holiday, just between Christmas and New Year's, that's when the World Junior Worlds happen, and big Canadian following for that. Kind of like March Madness.
Yes,
in
it's
the
awesome.
United States.
Did you play hockey growing up? I imagine you did.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Was there
play
a rink in the
bit.
backyard? I imagine every Canadian. I always imagine this, and I know it's not true. But I imagine every Canadian kid had a rink in his backyard.
We didn't have a rink in our backyard, but a few doors down there was.
Really?
There was one in the neighborhood. Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Definitely spent a lot of time outside in the cold winters.
And do you still play?
I actually don't, but my son does.
Great.
Yeah.
How's he do?
He's just starting out, so
How old is he?
He's 4 years old.
All right, so he's a mite? Well, I don't know. What do they have in Canada?
So similar type level. So he's a pre-type.
Okay.
So again, starting out, learning the game, and trying hard at it.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you
Michael.
for joining
Appreciate
us.
your time.
Jason
Thank you.
From Alfa Romeo. Great story. Alfa's a great brand. We'll be back with a whole lot more from the New York International Auto Show right after this. Don't go anywhere.